I have concern for the women of God that are coming forward, because it's like, well, where do I find these things, Quita? Where
Yeah.
do I find someone to walk with me? And, do I pay somebody online? Do I, and you have so many amazing voices in this space, and you're like, I'm looking to attach to something, but I fear if you do not attach to God first, everything like this will become your God.
Hello and welcome back to the Raven Nole Show. I'm your host, Raven C. Nole, and I am so glad that you are joining me today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm thrilled to have you. Today's conversation is going to be one that I truly believe a lot of people wrestle with. It's that topic that we don't always want to talk about, but we need to talk about, and that's how do you achieve success without selling out? So in a world where compromise can feel like the only way forward, how do you hold on to your values, stay true to your convictions, and still build meaningful influence? So we're going to unpack that today with our very special guest, Quita Coleman. How are you?
I am so excited. It is a great topic, and one that it's an often conversation. And I think it's one of those things where it's in the back of our mind, and we want to ask that question without feeling like we're trying to ladder climb and we're trying to skip over God's promise. And the thing is, it's one of those things where you're just like, let's just talk about it. Because it's right here in the living room, especially in this ever, evolving world of social media and the internet, and, platforms being pulpits now, or what they may seem to be. So I am super excited to talk to you about it, Raven.
Yeah, I'm super excited to dive into this conversation. So before we get into all the juiciness of everything, what would you like to share with our audience about who you are? Give us a little bit of an introduction to Quita and Quita's work.
Okay. So, very simply, the first time I ever stepped into a church in my life was in college on an Easter Sunday. So I got saved in adulthood. So I always tell everyone that I didn't have to go through the season of a lot of unlearning. Like when I met God, I got to meet him for real. Got married in college, had kids really young. I am the oldest young person you'll know, because, I've been married for almost 13 years and I have a middle schooler. So I feel really, really, really mature. And what the beauty of that was, I got to have a lot of life experiences that I'm watching or supporting my friends in this season. So I feel always like the oldest daughter or the big sister. And it's kind of been my mantra online. It's like, okay, well, I will tell you what you need to know, because I take that, hey, you don't have to go through, I can, you get to, I always tell people, you can't jump from one mountaintop to one mountaintop. But if I could help you not go so deep into the valley, let my wisdom be a good for you. So don't replicate the process, but the results were good. So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell. I am really outspoken about the things of God, really. And I'm a challenger. If I had to tell anyone, who is Quita, and if I had to put it in a word, I'm a challenger. I believe in standing on business for the things of God. And it's put me into some fun and challenging places over the last 10, 15 years. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love that. When I came across your Instagram page, one of the things that really stood out to me was just your willingness to confront things. And I would love the little reels that you would do and just really have that real talk, that big sister talk, with whoever is passing by this reel. And let me give you the truth, because you need the truth. And so I love that about you. So let's just start off by first defining success, because I know when it comes to worldly success versus biblical, godly success, and how we even have a viewpoint of that as Christian and Christian women, we can have a different viewpoint. But what is that basic line that we can draw in the sand pertaining to what success really looks like and what it actually means?
I think about the character and nature of God, right? When we think about how God interacted with people all throughout the Bible, it was always assignment, right? What is your assignment for the season? And I think so often, because we teach a lot in my church about discipleship and purpose, we often want to say, okay, God, what is my purpose? Why have you brought me here to the earth? What am I supposed to do? And when I achieve my purpose, then I have reached success. But if you really begin to think about or look at the people in the Bible as the purpose was their life. So the thing is, the closest thing that we truly get from biblical or godly success is, God, am I on assignment in this season of my life? That I don't stay in any place longer than I should be. And I don't try and go ahead of you where you're calling me to. So in a nutshell, I really would say is how close or how obedient are you to what the assignment God has for you in the current season as a good measure of success? the American Dream. I was reading a book called Radical by David Platt, and he talked about how the American dream of what we have deemed as success in America is actually the opposite of what biblical success is,
Mm-hmm.
especially for women. When you think about, married by 30, kids by 30, like you get this picture that someone painted for you. And it's like, what if this was never even the assignment that God had for you? So we
Mm-hmm.
spend our lives chasing the wind, like we hear in scripture. So I go back to this is like, what is the assignment for this season? Really locking your heart when you think about success more into the marathon and not the sprint.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, when we start to look at all the other things that pressure us in the world, right? That's what really gets us off track when it comes to our purpose and our assignment. We have pressure from everywhere, from family members to work environments to social media to all kind of aspects. And so those pressures start to distort what we believe our assignment or purpose is. So can you speak to some of the things that you've even seen with women that you are connected with, or your own journey where the pressures of everything in the world starts to make you kind of get misconstrued about your purpose and who God says that you are?
I often talk about this kind of like this triangle about knowing God, then knowing yourself, and then knowing your purpose. And I
Mhm.
often tell women, I have mentored and walked alongside many women over the years, that you can't skip the steps, right?
Yeah.
If you do not know who God is, it is going to be really hard to know who you are. And if
Mhm.
you do not know who you are, it's really going to be hard to know your purpose. And I often meet people who come to faith or begin to take their faiths more serious, and they want to skip from knowing who God is to knowing what his purpose is for them. And I'm like, well, do not forget the season that God has called us to really understand identity. Who
Mhm.
are you? And it's really tricky. Like I even get really nervous when I'm in these moments and I have to talk about my bio or who I am, because who I am is I'm God's daughter, and
Right.
everything gets to flow from that. Before prophet and before teacher and before mother and before wife, if everything stems from the place of that God has called me daughter, and all those other titles and those other expressions flow from that place, I'm healthier for the success and the purpose of my life. But if
Yeah.
I get my purpose without knowing who I am, and more importantly, knowing who God is, then
Mhm.
I have something like, you can get success, or at least the world's version of it, without God. But you will also have to do things, or you will have to keep it without God. And you have to think, what order do I really want my life to flow in?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love that you pointed out, identity, because I think that that right there is the common denominator when it comes to compromising success, not having integrity when God gives you influence, and that people really do overstep that point of discipleship. And so do you think that that is a Christian wide issue, kingdom wide issue, where discipleship is just not something that is the focus of the kingdom? Or do you think that it's more so the individual, where they're just so in a rush, they're like, you discipleship, no, 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 give me purpose.
Raven, you're trying to get me in trouble. Do you want me to say this a church wide issue? No. But I think it's not sexy, right?
Yeah.
Like, discipleship is just not sexy. So you think about Samuel walking with Eli, right? You think about the
Yeah.
disciples walking with Jesus, just walking. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
nothing sounds like purpose than just following someone and walking and learning and sitting and being and just growing in intimacy. That doesn't sound like purpose. That sounds like a elevator to purpose. But all of
Mhm.
it was purposeful, right? I,
Right.
I think we have unattached to what purpose really is and what looks like. And the thing is, it goes back to the assignment. If the assignment is for you to sit and serve this family for a year, if the assignment is for you to grow in discipleship and read for a year, all of that is still purpose. Like, it is the like the detaching. And I just feel like it's not a popular gospel. It's not a
Mhm.
popular thing, especially when I think about, just not segueing, but social media being the first time that we've ever been able to fully evangelize the gospel around the world. We could touch the entire world with social media. It's beautiful. But the challenge is the accessibility to
Mhm.
everything at one time. So many spoons, so many mouths, so many things to
Yeah.
eat. And then you're like, did I miss something here? Well, it's probably that you didn't learn to discern because you didn't have a season of discipleship. You didn't learn how to submit because you didn't have a season of discipleship. You didn't learn how to actually hear the voice of God because you didn't have a season of discipleship.
Yeah.
And because discipleship is an ongoing process, it is a thing that's skipped. And I don't know if the church, the big C church, has this. Oh God, I don't want to get in trouble. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we have affirmed that, how
Mhm.
important that season is. We want bodies and seat, and we want to grow our churches. And out of really pure intentions, we want
Yeah.
people to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. So they're here. Great, we got them. They're filled. They're listening to sermons. But where is our desire to be, the church in Ephesus, to mature the believer, to
Mhm.
disciple them into calling, and to send them out? Because
Yeah.
that was the biblical model of discipleship.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's just the truth about it, right? We all play our part in it, right? And so there's different aspects of how you can better disciple others and how you can create more opportunities and just openings for people to feel as if discipleship is needed and necessary. But for the woman who doesn't have those opportunities, for the woman who's like, I want to be in my purpose, I've had a taste of purpose, I see people in their purpose, but then she comes across this episode and she's like, okay, well, wait a minute, success. I don't want to be compromising. What should she do in this moment with her life? What should be her next step?
First step is, who are you? I think
Mhm.
we go back to that identity piece. Like, if someone gave you a sheet of paper, who are you?
Yeah,
Because we want to make sure that the foundation is strong. And, it, you know, not to go backwards, but that discipleship piece is important, but it's a challenge too, because I think it's hard to find discipleship in the church. It's
yeah,
hard to find mentorship in the church. And I have concern for the women of God that are coming forward, because it's like, well, where do I find these things, Quita? Where
yeah.
do I find someone to walk with me? And, do I pay somebody online? Do I, and you have so many amazing voices in this space. And you're
Mhm,
like, I'm looking to attach to something, but I fear, if you do not attach to God first,
mhm.
everything like this will become your God. And
Yeah,
that is my biggest concern. It's like, you cannot find your God on the internet. These
mhm.
things are tools to help you to be successful, to walk with you, to help you sustain and to learn. But you really have to develop that relationship with God, and don't be afraid to pray for it, right? Like,
Yeah,
God, I need women to walk with me. I'm looking for that Titus 2 woman. Like, I'm looking for friendship. So much of my maturation in the things of God came from my friends. We
mm,
literally just locked arms and walked with each other and said, hey, you said that you really were believing God to do this, or you said you wanted to say this, or hey, I noticed you say you never want to say that, and now you're posting get ready with me's, and you said that wasn't you. What's going on? That was a vital part of my maturation in the faith. And I don't think we talk about friendship enough as a portion of success, right?
yeah,
It's important, and I
yeah,
know that's hard. I hate to say those things, because I don't want to make light of how challenging it is for women to find that space in the body of
yeah.
Christ, and to find that space in church. So I don't want to make light of that, but I know that's the, like, right next step.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think also just adding the key component of friendship and doing life with others. And you just think about the disciples as well, even though they were following Jesus, they did life together. And so
Yeah.
they were able to learn from one another. They were able to confront one another. They were able to hold one another accountable. And so even if you don't necessarily have that discipler, you don't have a mentor or something of that nature, the Lord hasn't left you without anything, right?
Yeah.
And so you really have to tap into what you do have and how you can allow that to serve you. Now, I think another aspect of this as well, when it comes to success and not selling out, is integrity. So we think about discipleship and we think about, connecting with God, and we think about, walking with those who are like minded. But when it comes to living in integrity for yourself, even the decisions you make with attaching yourself to a mentor or, attaching yourself to friendships, what does that look like in everyday decisions? Like what advice would you give for women who are looking to walk in integrity in their everyday?
I think it has to flow from your place of intimacy. Like,
Mhm.
I can often tell when people are not spending time with God. Like, it's just like, I mean, I can tell when I'm not spending time with God. I can tell my
For
husband hasn't.
sure.
I can
Mhm.
look at my husband and be like, you probably need to go be with God right now. Like, it doesn't sound fruitful. The thing is, it is so easy, because of, like, I often feel like the enemy taunts us with our desires.
Yeah.
He knows what we hunger for. He knows that you want success. Ambition submitted to God is not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Like, so the thing is, but the problem is, submission happens in intimacy. So the thing is, you have to really begin to often look at, God, where am I in my relationship with you right now?
Yeah.
what fruit is coming of my life right now? Like the same way we often talk about inspecting the fruits of others, like, God, have I even inspected the fruit of myself? Like if I had slammed a dish on the table and I am walking right here with my lips poked out, maybe it's not a good season for me to create content. Maybe it's a time for me to
Mhm.
go back to my intimate place. And here's the thing, nobody knew you slammed a dish on the counter or that you walking around with
True.
your lip poked around the house. Like that, those are the moments that only those that are closest to you and God saw. But you have to be aware enough that my fruit is going to be the thing that sustains me in my
Mhm.
season of integrity. My fruit is
Yeah.
the thing that will keep me from compromising. But your fruit inspection has to be part of your daily walk with God.
I love that because that's true. No one's looking in your house every day. No one's looking at your heart. You know what I mean? From the outside in, the only one that can search your heart is the Lord. And you got to have moments of honesty with yourself. Like, I am a hot mess right now, and be able to confront those inner things within yourself. But that does take a level of accountability, self accountability. But then
Yeah.
also, you got to look for openings to humble yourself. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the things I live by is that I don't need anything to humble me. I will look for opportunities to be like, get low, because I don't need, listen, I've already seen people go high and fall. No, 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 no.
No, no, no.
How can I humble myself in these moments? And I think that that also just is that just shows the view you have of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, the relationship that you have with the Lord. Now, for you yourself, Quita, when it comes to your daily walk, when it comes to your daily life, where have you seen in your journey the most pressure to compromise?
This is a really good question, and it's really good question. The biggest two places are the places that I actually have the most impact, and
Mhm.
number one is with my own children as a mother. And I'll speak to that one really quickly. I often am trying so hard to do a good job that I'm like, well, God, maybe they
Yeah.
can go here, maybe they can listen to this. This is not too bad. And God is like, why is this such a place of contention? 'Cause God, I want to do a good job here. I
Yeah.
want to be successful with my daughters the way that I raised them. God, I don't want to mess these kids up.
Mhm.
So because I have such a deep heart posture towards that, I'm like, okay, God, maybe. And God is like, I need you to trust me, even in the areas that you think that you can handle. I often tell people, especially like my sisters and my friends, is that, God is better at this than us. And then what does that mean? It's like, well, God's a better at mothering. He's better at parenting. He's better at being covenant. He's better at teaching. Like he's so much better at this than we are. So the thing is, the minute that we think that we can go outside of him to show him another way than the way that he's already provided from us, is compromise. And I
Mhm.
think the other big thing is always, and this is just widespread, is anytime you think about elevation and money, right?
Mhm.
Um, I have worked in corporate America all of my career. This is my first year transitioning into full-time ministry. And I often would think like, oh my God, like what if my boss finds this video on the internet where I'm
Yeah.
saying, hey, repent because the kingdom of God is at hand. Like what are my coworkers gonna think? Like, could I lose my job?
Yeah.
And God is like, I need you to quickly shift your eyes off of that because
Mhm.
where your eyes must stay is on me. So
Yeah.
so I have to just kind of settle my heart because my heart travels there or has traveled there many times. Like, what are they going to think? Or people who have or what I think have some type of authority over me, will they have a problem with what I've decided to say on the internet, highly public, right? But I have to believe that if God brought me to this place, He'll also keep me. And I
Mhm.
have to believe if He's called me to this place that He will sustain the promise that He brought me for. So I lean there, but I don't want to also make light of that. It's a challenge, right? It's a
Yeah.
constant conversation and a constant reminder, like, okay, God, you brought me here, you're gonna keep me. That is a daily conversation. Like I think sometimes when people watch people on the internet, they're like, oh yeah, they said this big prayer one time and they got it. Like they are bold. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, this is a daily conviction. Like, God, please keep me in this area. Please let my eyes remain on you. Don't let opportunity become my like, oh my God, because people can give me a chance to do something. You brought me here. And I
Mhm.
have to keep thinking, like, God, you brought me here. So how
Mhm.
dare I ever try to walk in or out this door without you when you were the key that brought me to this place?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has really been it for at least the last few years, definitely.
Yeah, I love those examples because when I hear you talking, I hear your conviction has to grow stronger than your desire to people please. And it doesn't matter if it's family members, if it's career, if it's whatever, is that we see people in the flesh. And so it can be so much easier to want to just bow to their opinions, their thoughts, and I'm not going to say it's not it is a challenge to be able to, confront that and then say, well, God, my conviction has to be stronger. What you desire, what you would want, the values and principles I live by as a Christian. And
Yeah.
so what a dance. You know what I mean? Like,
And knowing them, right, Raven? Like, I think
yeah.
sometimes we don't really know what our values and our principles are. And it's like, if you don't get super clear on that, you will literally be chasing the wind. Like, God,
Mhm.
what do I believe as a woman of God, right?
Yeah.
I think about in 2020 when there was so much social media conversations around race and religion and social justice, and then like you want to talk about this, and then like next month it's something else you want to talk about this, and it's like, God, what really even is my assignment, right? We
Yeah.
One of my best friends always talks about pick your resistance, right? What has God assigned you to in the earth? Like, if God assigned you to be this person or this measure of success or this assignment, like, this is how God has called you to the movement based on where God has you. But we don't often know our values, right? We don't know
Mhm.
what God is calling us to. So when something kind of flows by, and it's why trends are really not good for Christian influencers and those who want to have some type of public success to follow, because the thing is, the trend will go on. And the
Yeah.
thing is, God is like, but I brought you here to say this and you're on this, and it's like,
Mhm.
be so okay. I'd rather have an audience of, 100 healthy people, 100
Mhm.
healthy women who are moving closer to the things of God than to be viral.
Yeah.
It took a long time for me to get there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be silly and be like, oh, yeah, you shouldn't want to go viral. When you pick up these cameras and these phones, who doesn't want to grow the platform? Who doesn't
Mhm.
want more success? That's normal. But you have to get to a place where, like, God, if you anointed my hands and my voice for 50 people, I'm okay with the 50
Yeah.
because I'm satisfied in the assignment. So I've created tons of content and tons of videos, and there are times where things go amazing and it's awesome. And there's sometimes where 20 people like it, but one person's messaged me and say, hey, today was the day that I thought XYZ is going to happen. And I needed to hear that. God,
Mhm.
Quita, don't you understand that there's benefit in not being so locked into what is superficial? Like,
Yeah. Love
I
that.
want your voice to go deep, not just wide. And
Mhm.
Christians, especially Christian women, we have to be okay with the deep things of God, not just the expansive.
Yeah, yeah. I love that because it's so easy. And I'm glad that you brought up, just the online space. All of us, everybody listening to this podcast is on the online space, whether that is something that you do full time or you just, go and post pictures or whatnot. You have to be very careful with trends and trying to follow after what is popular in the moment. And I know, like, when Reels came out, oh my God, everybody was on the trend thing and, dancing and all kind of stuff. It was fun in the moment, like, okay. But then you start realizing, what am I doing here? And that can happen in so many different situations because you take your eyes off of Jesus, the purpose and the assignment, and you
Yeah.
put it on what looks to be the end thing or the it thing. And so I would love for you just to give one final word of advice to women who are listening to help them keep their eyes fixed, their
Yeah.
gaze set, and not allow themselves to wonder.
I think the big thing is, and I'm going to say it's even from like a prophetic place. I feel like the women that's listening to this who's praying for clarity, like, God, I need to get more clear on my
Yeah.
success. Ask God to make your faith blind.
Mm-hmm.
God, help my eyes be closed to what I see, that the
Yeah.
only thing I see is you. That,
Love
God, the only thing in this next season that I see is what you have for me. Make my heart steady. One of my favorite scriptures is Philippians 4:10. He said, I have had a lot and I have had a little, but I now understand the secrets to success, that Christ in all things. So let my heart grow content with that, God, I have you, that you're speaking to me, that I have a place in your heart, that I'm your daughter,
it.
um,
Mhm.
that clarity won't be my idol. Because
Yeah.
sometimes the thing that we're praying for becomes our idol. Like whoever's listening, it's like, clarity won't be your idol in this next season. And clarity is not the thing that will get you there. God will take you to the place that he has for you. Rest in that.
Yeah. 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 I think that is beautiful, powerful, powerful, powerful. And I think, just to wrap it up with the fact that we should literally be moving forward, we should be working from a place of rest. Every single day, we should be coming from a place of rest and not feeling as if we have to hurry up and do something so that we then can rest, but learning how to really just rest in God and making that an everyday lifestyle and a part of your actual journey and walk. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Quita.
Thank you, Raven, for having me. It's been so good.
I'm like, oh, I need more of this conversation. We may have to bring Quita back.
Oh, this is so good. Thank you so much for having me, Raven.
Oh,
I truly appreciate it.
yeah, it was so good. So, can you tell everyone where they can follow you at, Quita?
You can look me up online. My name is Quita. My Instagram handle is Quita Says, or you can follow us at day41.com, where we do devotionals and a lot of the same types of content. But I'm on the internet. You can't miss me. And thank you so much, Raven, for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Quita, for being with us today. To our listeners, if this episode resonated with you, let us know. Leave us a review and share your biggest takeaways in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking for a community to get connected with and a source of accountability to help live out your godly principles and values on this earth, join my Bible study community by clicking the link in the show notes below. It's free and we would love to welcome you. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep thriving and making an impact.